Hi everyone, welcome to IGNOU's classroom. In this video, we will be talking about cost. This is the 6th unit in MMPC 5, that is accounting for managers. So let's get started. A few of the things that we will be talking about in this video are why managers should be concerned with cost, what exactly is cost, what is cost accounting, and what are the elements of cost, and we will also learn how we can break down total cost. So, what is cost, first of all? In production, research, retail, or accounting, what exactly do we understand by the term cost? Cost is the value of money that has been used up to produce something or deliver a service, and therefore that amount of money is not available for use anymore. Consider the thing. What is the cost of you buying a phone? It might be 20,000 rupees or even 60,000 rupees, or maybe even may go above 1 lakh rupees. Once you buy that phone, by paying that much amount of money, that money has been debited from your bank account and it is no longer there with you for use, right? Suppose say you bought a 1 lakh rupee worth of Samsung Z Fold. Okay, so now that you bought that phone, you cannot go and buy another Apple's MacBook Pro or something of that sort with that 1 lakh rupees, because you already spent it in order to get the functionalities offered by Samsung Z Fold. So that is the cost that you had to bear in order to be able to use that phone. So that is simply the cost. But is cost just that? Actually, no. The term cost is one of the terms in accounting or even business in general, which has a lot of different meanings depending upon the context in which we use. Cost could denote the amount of money that a company spends on the creation or production of goods or services. But if you think about it from a seller's point of view, it is the amount of money that is spent to produce a good or a product. And from a buyer's point of view, it is the amount of money that you spend to acquire a good or a product. Now, there is not one universal definition of cost, and the reason why is because the interpretation of cost depends upon the nature of the business or the industry, as well as the context in which we are talking about cost. As managers, why should we be concerned about cost is the biggest question that every MBA graduate should be facing while they are trying to understand about costs. Well, understanding costs is the most vital aspect of informed business decisions, because it will help you to determine the profitability of your operations and how you should be setting prices in order to maximize your firm's value. To put it into perspective, understanding cost will help managers or management to ascertain the costs and control cost, determine the total per unit cost, or distinguish between profitable and non-profitable activities, compare costs over time, and even help in reducing or controlling costs, just to name a few. So what is cost accounting? Managerial accounting, if you have followed through my earlier videos, you must have understood that there are various forms of accounting. The usual ones called the books, the part where we write books of accounts, journals, ledgers, prepare cash flow statements or balance statements, income statements. Such things are generally part of financial accounting. And we have another broad branch which can be termed as managerial accounting. Cost accounting comes under managerial accounting. What is managerial accounting? It is the practice of identifying, measuring, analyzing, interpreting, and communicating financial information to managers for the pursuit of an organization's goals. Managerial accounting differs from the usual financial accounting, which we almost always come to associate with the term accounting, because of the intended purpose of managerial accounting is to assist users, internal to the company, in making well-informed business decisions. We all know that the final stage or the purpose of why we perform accounting is to be able to infer from the data in order to make decisions. And that making decisions part is what managerial accounting is concerned about. This cost accounting, as we said, is a form of managerial accounting which involves the recording of all the costs that are incurred in a business in a way that it can be used to improve the management of the organization as well as the cost. So what are the elements of cost? When you look at cost, you can broadly divide cost into material cost, labor cost, and other expenses. So naturally, material cost is the cost that is associated with acquiring the physical resources. It could be if you are an automobile or or automobile industry, if you're operating in the automobile industry, then your materials may be spare parts or parts of the car, or maybe glass, paint, such stuff. Or if you are in the IT industry, your materials might be computers and various other networking devices and such. Or it could even be virtual things like presence on the virtual clouds, VMwares and things like that. If you are in the textile industry, your materials might be clothes, like rolls of clothes or threads and things like that. I hope you get the point. Then comes the labor. Labor is the people involved in the production process or in the industry. And then you have the expenses, which could be anything related to maybe rents, wages, or what you can say, gathering office supplies and things like that. Now, these broad three elements of cost, they have subsections, like the material cost that is incurred in production of something, maybe let's say a toy. Okay, so if it is a toy, then naturally materials would be the plastic parts or the gearboxes and things like that. Those are the materials, and they can be directly attributed to your product. But look at the light bulbs that are used in the production floor, or maybe the fans, the electricity, or the air conditioners. They are also materials, but its use cannot, though they are necessary in your production floor, its use cannot be directly attributed towards your toy, right? So that is indirect materials. Similarly, labor, the line workers who are there, okay, in the line, assembling and inspecting, packaging your toys into batches and cartons and things like that, they are direct. But what about the staff who supervises these people, or what about the HR manager? They are not directly involved in the toy making process, but they are also essential part of your business. If they are not there, your business will not have that structure and conformity, right? So that is what direct and indirect labor is. Similarly comes the expenses. There are direct expenses and indirect expenses. These direct expenses are quite straightforward, okay, but these indirect expenses are not that straightforward, and you can term them as overheads, which are necessary for your business operations, and they also cost you, but they are not, since we cannot directly link them to the individual toy, we call them as overhead costs. Okay, so overhead costs are mainly of three types: factory overheads, office and administration overheads, selling and distribution overheads. So each of these overheads, again, they could be related to labor, material, or expense. So that is the broad overview of the different elements of cost. Now, coming to understanding of the cost terminology. As we said earlier, cost, depending upon the context in which is used, has different meanings. So what is prime cost? Prime cost is the cost of direct materials, direct labor, and direct expenses. So it is the basic first or flat cost, you can say. All the direct costs that you can attribute to, let's say, your toy, if that is your business, that comes as prime cost, the first cost that is incurred in the production. Next, we have the factory cost, which comprises of the prime cost, and in addition, it also contains the factory overheads, like the cost of indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect factory expenses. So the factory cost of your toy would be the direct cost of the raw materials or the labor and the expenses that you incur in producing that particular toy, plus all the costs related to maybe purchasing of the fans, ACs, exhaust fans, maybe when the windows, the glass, the water cooler, the supervising staff, your HR managers, such things. Those are your factory cost. Then comes the office cost, which is in addition to the factory cost. You have to consider the cost that is associated with buying office supplies, like maybe paper, printers, ink, pen, maybe your employee tags, all those things, right, would come as additional administration overheads. And prime cost plus the factory cost, or you can say the factory cost plus the the administrative office and administrative overheads will come up as your office cost, which is also termed as the total cost of production. Then comes the total cost. That is also termed as cost of sales, and that adds the selling and distribution overheads as well into your office cost. So all the direct cost, all the factory overheads, all the administrative overheads, and all the selling and distribution overheads, like purchasing of the distribution van or putting petrol into the van, any services that you'll have to do for repairing of the van, or the salary you'll have to pay to the driver of that van, distribution van, or any agent who is helping you out in distributing your goods and selling them up and collecting commissions. All those different things will come under the selling and distribution overhead. So all these things put together is how you derive your total cost of production. So we can break down total cost as total cost equals the cost of production plus selling and distribution overhead, where cost of production is the factory cost plus office and administration overhead. Factory cost is nothing but the prime cost plus the factory overhead, and prime cost is the direct cost of materials, labor and expenses. Therefore, you can say total cost as the cost of direct cost of materials, labor and expenses plus all the three overheads, that is factory overhead, office and administration overhead, and selling and distribution overhead. So if that is it for this video, thank you so much for your attention if you have made it so far. If you haven't subscribed, do consider subscribing to our channel. It is a sincere request. It will help me a lot, and try to share about us amongst your friends as well so that I can reach more people. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.